Hey guys, welcome back to Corey Has Spoken. So I'm going to do a little excerpt out by the lake today as I drink my coffee. It is just too beautiful out here not to enjoy nature and look at this view. And you know what? If I could just stay here all the time and just not even have to work and just not even go to a job every day and just make videos on the lake, I would do that. However, I cannot. I have to make money so that I can continue to pay for this beautiful house on the lake. All right. You know what? Let me give you a little look-see around. Lake. Yes, that is a hot tub. Conor McGregor and Kamaru Usman. Because apparently, the notorious one is now calling out um, who a lot think is the GOAT, Kamaru Usman. Oh, Corey, what are you talking about, man? Connor's washed up. And plus his leg was broken, man. He's never coming back. He's never going to be the same. Why are you bothering talking about him? Corey, come on, man. Just go home. I'm already home, for one thing. Secondly, if that is what you are saying when you hear me mention the name Conor McGregor, you are simply just a Conor McGregor hater. That's fine. That's fine. I, however, am not, and I'm one of those people who, if you're a fan of MMA, I feel like you have to be a fan of Conor McGregor because he has brought so many eyes and so much notoriety and attention to this sport that I love so much. And it is all due to the promotional prowess of one Conor McGregor. Now, Conor calls people out all the time, doesn't he? I mean, he hasn't been doing it that much here recently, but this is not something that is new to Conor's game. He spends a lot of time on Twitter calling out this person and that person, and you know somebody will go in and win a big fight and be sitting in the post fight press conference after their big win, and the media will sit there and ask him about something that Conor just tweeted. And he will literally steal the spotlight from the fighters who fought that very night, including champions, when he hasn't graced the octagon in almost a year. That's Conor. But I can assure you that Red Panty Night is a real thing, guys. It just is. Whether you love him or whether you just love to hate him, Red Panty Night is a real thing, and he is a consummate showman. And for the UFC, if it makes dollars, it makes sense. So Conor McGregor is always going to have a seat at the table. And that is because he is the consummate showman. By example, this man sat on his ass in the octagon after suffering a major compound fracture, major break to his leg, and cut a promo about how this is not over. You know, telling Dustin Poirier that his wife was in his DMs. I mean, everybody remembers it. Whilst sitting on the canvas with a compound fracture in his leg. He is in character until the lights go out and the curtain draws left and closes the show. Conor has always been that way, and it is one of the reasons that people love him. It's one of the reasons that people love to hate him. And is one of the reasons for Red Panty Night and that Conor will be the highest earning MMA fighter possibly ever. Or at least until that next generation comes along and we find another Conor. You know what I mean? There will never be another Conor. That's why he's one reason he's so popular. But another version of Conor, that is. And you say, well, you know, Conor's washed up, man. He keeps losing. He hadn't won a fight in forever. I don't know how many times I'm going to have to go through this. Losing one fight to Nathan Diaz after getting gassed in the fourth round and then getting choked out by a guy who is a Gracie Jiu Jitsu prodigy and who is a triathlete and does not get tired. No shame in that. Then he turns around, he comes back, he beats Nathan Diaz. When was his next loss? What? Floyd Mayweather in boxing? Oh, you mean that guy that was 49-0 and even all the greatest boxers in the world couldn't beat him? And then Conor went in and kicked his ass for 4 rounds until he got tired? That guy? Because that doesn't even count. That wasn't MMA. So what? So Khabib, the greatest ever in the lightweight division, a guy who never lost, a guy who dominated even supreme grapplers and wrestlers. Him, he's the guy that Conor lost to that we're going to say, oh, he's washed up. Washed up. Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier, the number one contender by far in the lightweight division, sitting second only to Charles Do Bronx Oliveira, who is the champion. And we all saw that fight. Charles weathered the storm. That fight could have gone either way. There was a couple of times that Poirier had him hurt. 1 millimeter to the left, 1 millimeter to the right. Dustin Poirier could be the lightweight champion right now. So he lost to him the first time because Dustin had a great game plan, kicked his leg to death, and he pretty much couldn't continue. The next fight, yeah, he was getting his ass kicked the first round. Got to give him that. It wasn't a 10-8 round, 10-9 round, because a lot of the first part of that fight, Conor was looking good, throwing some leg kicks, throwing some strikes, and did land a few of them. A lot of people said, oh, it's a 10-8. Come on, guys. Dustin had him down for like a minute and a half or so at the end of the round, landing some decent shots on him. Was not a 10-8. A 10-8 is a complete domination by one fighter over another for 5 whole minutes of the round. And then that fighter that is getting dominated almost getting finished, as close to you as you can come to getting finished or to getting the fight stopped. That's a 10-8. So it wasn't a 10-8. Comes out in the second round, breaks his leg. So is it Dustin? Is Dustin the guy that, we look at? No, he's washed up. Like, I don't know what world you all live in, but anyone who can look at Conor's losses and say he's washed up either is a Conor hater and they just don't like him for the sake of not liking him. Everybody else loves him, so I'm going to hate him. He's a rebel, he's that guy. He's the guy that's just a rebel for the sake of being a rebel. Well, everybody else says they like him, and I like to be different, so I'm going to say I don't like him. In fact, I hate him. He's the worst fighter ever. He's washed up. He was never worth a damn. You're either that guy or you don't know a freaking thing about MMA. One of those two options. If you are a person that's saying Conor McGregor is washed up, you are one of those two options. You're either a true Conor McGregor hater or you don't know a damn thing about MMA. You just don't. No offense. Conor's losses have only been to the best in the world. Let's be very clear about that. And that is not in any way, shape, or form losing to Khabib or Dustin Poirier. Does that qualify anyone for being washed up? Okay? So, if that's the criteria, if his losses to Dustin Poirier And then Khabib. If those are the criteria for us qualifying Conor McGregor as washed up, then Justin Gaethje's washed up too. Well, no, that's different. No, it's not different. Same thing. Hell, Conor lasted longer with Khabib than Gaethje did. You know, I mean, Gaethje and Dustin had a hell of a fight together, but hey, Dustin won the fight. He beat him. Is Gaethje washed up? I think not. He's about to challenge Oliveira for the belt. I'm picking Gaethje to win that fight, by the way. So forget about all this mess. Get off of that train where you hear people, all these Conor haters online. He's washed up. He's too rich. He doesn't want to. Let me back up. Maybe he is. That may be true. That may very well be true. And a year from now, 2 years from now, I may look back on this very video and say, I don't really know what I was talking about. Okay, so maybe he was washed up. But we have not seen that yet. What we have seen thus far does not tell us that Conor is washed up. A loss to Khabib does not qualify you as being washed up. 2 losses to Dustin Poirier. 3, 4, 5, 6 losses to Dustin Poirier does not qualify you as being a washed up fighter. Dustin's the best in the world next to Charles Oliveira. I mean, Gaethje's right there, but then Dustin beat Gaethje. So get off your high horse. Conor is not washed up, and he's not only not washed up as a fighter, but he's still primed, man, as a fight promoter. Because he is talking his way in to this Kamaru Usman fight like more of a fight promoter professional than I have ever witnessed in my entire life. Kamaru's doing the right thing. Kamaru's like, because Conor's one of those guys, he'll call it, everything he says, everything he drops on Twitter gets all kinds of attention, right? And everybody wants that Conor fight because it's a lot of notoriety. If it's not for a championship, it may not necessarily, if they're not getting pay-per-view points, it may not necessarily mean more money for the guys who fight him, but it means more eyeballs because anytime Conor comes to town, it sells out. The pay-per-views completely sell out. If everybody's looking at Conor and you're the one fighting them, guess what? That's right. All of those same eyeballs are on who? You. Which is why all the guys want to fight him, which is why there's a red panty night. You expand your own namesake and your own notoriety when you fight Conor. So Conor is talking his way into this Kamaru Usman fight. So Kamaru Usman's doing the right thing because Conor, calls out all kinds of different guys, but then the next week he's forgotten about them and he's doing something else. And then those guys who immediately responded, I mean, when Conor calls out someone's name, 9 out of 10 of these guys, of course, say something back. And of course, they talk smack back to Conor because why? Because they're trying to get the Conor fight. Every fighter wants the Conor fight because getting that Conor fight elevates their own career to another level when they get that fight. So, of course, if Conor speaks your name, what, you're just going to ignore him? No. No. Not if you give a damn about the projection of your career and the projection of your career going upward instead of downward or being stagnant. If you care about those things, of course you're going to respond. But all they're trying to do is talk their way into that Conor fight, that red panty night fight. That's what they're doing. But, Conor is a busybody. He moves on to somebody else the very following week. So he'll say their name one time, get them interested, get them yapping back online to him, and then the next thing you know, he's calling out another guy. Well, Kamaru is showing his GOAT status as well because Kamaru hasn't done that. Kamaru is not responding in a way that is saying, I will do this or I will not do this. He's kind of leaving it alone. But it's because he's the GOAT. and he doesn't want to look weak. Every guy who Conor called out jumped online immediately. Come on, let's do it. I'm ready. Not Kamaru. He's like, eh, nonchalant, indifferent is a good word. But make no mistake, Kamaru wants that fight as well. Make no mistake, the UFC would absolutely make that fight because when Conor comes to town, it is the biggest show in MMA. It's the biggest show that the UFC sees for that year or that quarter or that 2 years, whatever it is. However often he's able to come in there, it's always their biggest selling pay-per-views. He's got like what, 7 out of 10 of the biggest selling pay-per-views ever. So any of you out there that think, oh, that's not going to happen. Besides, Kamaru says he doesn't want the fight. Kamaru is playing the right card here. He's the champion. He's a dominant champion at that. Possibly the welterweight GOAT, some people are calling him. You know, he's not going to get down on his knees for anybody. He's not going to look desperate for anybody. And that's a smart power play on his part as the reigning, defending welterweight champion. But make no mistake. Make no mistake. The UFC will do that. Conor will do that. And Kamaru Usman will do that. I'm watching. I'm buying. What about you?